So I'm going to stay on stage for a sec to introduce the next panel. And the next country that we're highlighting is Israel, which there's always some debate when you mention Israel as part of Europe. Obviously, it's not part of the European Union, but for as far as we're concerned, it is part of the European tech industry and is hugely important. And there's lots of innovation going on there, so it's worth highlighting, if only to learn from what they do. So our moderator today is Tom from the Elevator Fund, and he's going to introduce his panelists, and we're going to talk about Israel next. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. We are now welcoming two key people from Israel. They flight especially for LeWeb'. Actually, they are going to tell us a little about the startup nation and what's hot in Israel today and how it matters to Europe. So, Inbal Arieli, she's a VP Strategic Partnership at Startup Nation Central, who is a non-profit association promoting the Israeli ecosystem and the Israeli high-tech in Israel around the world. And Tom Bronfeld is the founding partner of the accelerator, the elevator, but it's more than an accelerator. You're going to see this. All the slides you are going to see are available on our SlideShare. So, first of all, we are going to start by the beginning of the Startup Nation. And Inbal, if it works. Voilà. Inbal, I would like to ask you, clearly at the beginning, can you explain us how come Israel became the second Silicon Valley in the world in only 25 years? With now more than 5,000 startups. Can you explain us?
Of course. So hello, everyone. Very happy to be here. So as you see in the slide, Tel Aviv in Israel was actually ranked second to the Silicon Valley in this research that took 8 different indexes relating to creating an entrepreneurial environment, among which the talent, the technological talent, funding opportunities, the mindset of the entrepreneurs, the network itself. And according to that research, Tel Aviv and Israel were ranked second. And the question, of course, is what happened? So if you look at the state of Israel in the past dozens of years, we first see 2 main industries which were the building blocks of creating success stories in Israel and actually building more and more entrepreneurs that went through an entire business cycle, from creating an idea, developing it, maturing it, growing companies, and sometimes even either selling them or going public on NASDAQ or other trade options. And those 2 building blocks, those 2 first industries were the first ones from which a lot of other entrepreneurs moved to other sectors. We also had in Israel very strong governmental support, both in terms of retaining intellectual property and talent in Israel and making sure that people would not leave to other places, as well as attracting, with the support of the government, foreign funding to Israel, since the government of Israel realized that there are not enough local funding to grow a successful high-tech entrepreneurial scene. And the idea was to attract foreign investors to bring their money to Israel. And this is how the first generation of VCs in Israel was created. And of course, this is important since this is the fuel, the oxygen for the rest of the ecosystem. Now, in addition to those 2 things, you have to remember the spirit of the people, the spirit of the country. It's an entrepreneurial country by itself. And I think that those elements together were the if you want, the basis for creating such a successful high-tech industry.
Okay, but as in any other country, any startups will succeed about around 10% of the startups. But in Israel, we know that it is the highest density in the world of startups per capita. It's one startup for 2,000 people. So, Tom, can you tell us just in few seconds what is exactly about entrepreneurship in Israel? Why is it so vivid?
Sure, so I'll try to do it in a few seconds. Basically, I think the most important thing, and that's what we're seeing all the time, it's the difference of the culture. I think that's the strongest thing that we see in Israel that is lacking in other ecosystem, which is the idea that the companies that are being built from the get-go are being built globally and internationally. People are not building for the local market. There's no mindset like this. The idea of even someone in Israel to work in the local market is sometimes very capped. So the dream, the idea of success is something that's how you build something international, how you penetrate to other markets. I think another key point is the fact that in terms of a culture, in terms of a society, it's a very risk-taking society. People are not afraid to take risk. People are not afraid to fail. Failure seems to be a blast when we're investing in companies. We see people that failed before. It just signals, and if they came again and try to do something again, for us it's a great signal that they might succeed. Most entrepreneurs have this sort of thing. We see also a very strong expertise that are coming from a strong background of people that are spending 3 years around a very complex engineering process that I think nowhere in the world people are exposed in these ages to do such complex and challenging mission. And I think if you connect all of these dots together, you have a very vibrant society that is looking to all the time innovate and all the time to scale that globally.
Okay, and this is maybe exactly what you are going to see in this slide. We try to illustrate actually the ecosystem. And what we can see here, it's of course more than 5,000 startups, but each component is very, very important. And Tom, what we can see that is very specific to Israel is that there are more than 250 R&D labs, centers. And this is quite specific in Israel. Can you explain us this phenomena?
Sure. So I think R&D basically started back in the 90s, where a lot of companies that were the tech companies came to recruit talent in Israel and felt that the talent of the engineers is strong enough to start building very, very important products in their sales cycle of what companies are building. We saw the Intel processor. Google Suggest was invented in Israel. Some of the Kinect as well. The cherry tomatoes are something that is funny, but they're also invented in Israel. So we see a lot of companies basically coming there to look for the talent of engineers that can build this sort of product. And right now what we're seeing is sort of the second generation of R&D, of companies that are not the Google or the Facebook of the world, that are coming right now to look for problems for the solutions. And that relates back to my first point. It's a very problem-solving country. You can say it in a way. People are good at solving problems. So I think that's what the world is looking right now in Israel in terms of, as you mentioned, it's sort of an R&D innovation lab.
Okay, exactly. In Inbal, you mentioned at the beginning the support of the Israeli government in the 90s. It helps actually building this ecosystem with a lot of incubators, maybe 25 years ago. Now we are seeing a new model of open innovation in Israel with many, many accelerators. The two of us, both of you have managed accelerators. You, Inbal, you have founded maybe the first accelerator in Israel called A200, 8200 ESP. And you, Tom, you are founder of the Elevator, which is both very unique. Inbal, can you explain us why did you founded this first accelerator five years ago?
Yes, so the incubators you mentioned, the model of incubators in Israel is completely different from other places in the world. And it actually defines a structure, a vehicle, which is supported by both governmental and private funds. And usually in areas where life cycles are longer and investors are less keen into investing in those places where we want to retain IP. In 2010, something interesting happened. So Israel already had a very active pretty successful high-tech industries with those 5,000 startups you mentioned. So all the dots were there, and the ecosystem was already very vivid. However, we didn't have any specific vehicles for very, very early stage startups. And looking then at the United States, and as a role model of what's happening there, looking at Y Combinator, Techstars, Mass Challenges, I realized that the structure could be relevant for Israel. The 8200 Entrepreneurship and Innovation Support Program is a program which was founded under the umbrella of the Alumni Association of 8200, which is an intelligence unit within the Israeli military, from which a lot of entrepreneurs currently active in the Israeli high-tech started their career, if you want. And I realized that it's not only relevant the fact that you started in such a place, but you need this vehicle to help you make some progress. The accelerator is a multidisciplinary one, which is only 20 startups every year, and help them grow their businesses with the goal of really growing successful businesses in Israel. Just to give you some figures, from our alumni so far, we have 75 startups that ran through our programs in those recent 4 years and now starting our 5th year. They have raised more than $70 million. Only one of them has made an exit, which is actually, in our opinion, a good sign because they're growing. More than 300 people are employed under those startups. Okay, we can see today there are around 20 accelerators in Israel. And Tom, can you tell us a little about the elevator? You have something very special. Sorry, this is R&D. Okay, you have something very special in the elevator.
Sure. So we basically also started as an accelerator, but we restructured the whole way that we think about investment and how we help companies. We restructure ourselves as an operational vehicle because we feel that what's very important right now to companies, especially in a market that is kept by the people and people need to build things globally. So we decided that our goal is all the time, how can we bring customer first? So it basically goes back to my second point about R&D centers and the second wave of R&D centers of basically innovation centers that are coming to Israel. So elevator thesis is going around something that we call corporate garage, basically providing big corporates right now that are the less innovative one, that are looking for growth, and growth usually comes from innovation. Innovation comes from talent, and talent right now finds itself that it doesn't want to work in this corporate. So there's sort of a place where these corporates are there right now to look to how to innovate to the next level. So they need to map their areas of innovation. They need to be very competitive, and they need to do it in early stage. So we provide sort of a custom-made track to each one of these corporate that we're working based on the verticals that we're investing, basically providing them access to early stage talent and solution, and giving the startups basically a first market validation. We create sort of a win-win situation by giving the corporate more ideas about where they should be looking at in the next few years, and for startup to find first customer before they even need capital. Okay, and this is actually the way we want to work with European and global brands, of course, is to come to Israel. But on the other way, how do you think, we have seen this very vivid ecosystem, how do you think, for example, this Israeli technology can reach the European markets? Inbal, what do you think? So one example is what Tom just mentioned. I think that generally one needs to understand that Israel has a very strong and vivid ecosystem, constantly innovating. It has a very strong technological talent in Israel, but the market is so small that it makes it actually irrelevant. So what happens is that Israel innovation from day one is aiming for global markets overseas. Now, traditionally, most of the connections, most of them were with the United States. And from those more than 250 multinationals that we mentioned, most of them are from the United States. I actually believe, and this is what we're trying to do at Startup Nation Central, is to open new markets and where there's inefficiency between the Israeli market of solutions, of innovation, to bridge between additional industries, markets, countries, and the pool of innovation and assets that you can see in Israel. I think that for big corporates who are not present in Israel, they should ask themselves, how come they're not there? Because apparently
something very interesting is happening there in terms of innovation. And today, most big corporates understand that innovation is one of the key answers for growth.
Okay, we can see it every day. More and more French, European brands are really involved in the Israeli ecosystem. Maybe now we have seen many data, many figures about the open innovation R&D. Maybe Tom, you can tell us a little about tomorrow. You see a lot of startups in your accelerators and around you. What do you think about the next billion maybe startups of tomorrow? What's really hot today in Israel, and what will be the best startups tomorrow?
Sure. So I think what's going to be very interesting to see is, first of all, the fintech industry, which also has like a very big connection right now to Europe as an industry that is going to be disrupted by startups, industry that a big giant will come out, like the next Uber, the next $40 billion company. I think IoT right now is going to be very big in Israel because it represents a lot of the talent that exists there. We invested lately in computer vision of drones, things that we didn't even imagine that we're going to invest like 3 years ago. I think the combination between IoT, the health tech, all of this sort of environment is going to be very strong in the next year in Israel, and we're going to see a lot of hardware and software engineers coming out of it.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I'm not sure we are able to answer the questions because the timing is over. But of course, all this data will be available, and we are available to talk to you later. Voilà. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.